7-5, an earned run average of 3.85. He'll go to the mound against this Seattle Mariner lineup presented by 7-Eleven. Rich Hammerall, Edgar Martinez swinging the bat well, followed by Ken Griffey Jr., Jay Buhner, Mike Flowers at first, and Keith Mitchell hitting sixth and left. Mark Newfield, recently up from the minor leagues, the DH, followed by Felix Vermeer, and the catcher Dan Wilson will bat ninth.
This defense brought to you by Robert Stock, the designer for the American family. Polonia, the only left-handed bat in left field. Gerald Williams to right. Kevin Elster, he's played for both the Mets and, of course, now with the Yankees. And I think Dwayne, he really is the only pure shortstop the Yankees have at this point. And I'm not so certain when you see Kevin Elster feel the ball, the ground he covers, and his throwing arm is more than adequate, that he may not win that job full time.
Well, that was his only question, the condition of his arm, whether or not he can make the throw. He's such and has been for years such a graceful shortstop. He's very smooth out there, so we'll see how that develops as the season progresses. And he's a fellow who could come in handy with Jim Abbott on the mound.
You bet. We know how many ground balls, if Jim Abbott is right with the cutter and slider and curveball down into right-handers, how many balls are hit to the left side.
Rich Hammerall is going to lead it off. The Seattle Ball Club has had a lot of success against left-handed starters, but they've been terrible on the road. Overall, they are 33-44. And the first pitch of this game misses ball one.
Lou Piniella's team is 16 wins and 7 losses against left-handed starting pitcher. Hammerall has all 4 of his home runs off left-handers, and Ken Griffey Jr. has 14 home runs off left-handed pitchers.
There's a strike on the inside part of the plate, and the count is 1-1. Junior third in Lou Piniella's lineup. Hammerall, Martinez, and Griffey here in the first. Strike 2 call. Abbott has the jump on Hammerall.
Isn't it ironic, for all those years the Seattle Mariners could not finish at 500 or better until Jim Lefevre got there, and then he was fired. Now if they can hang around 500, they could win the division easily, get in the postseason play.
It would appear anywhere near that 500 mark would be good enough.
Ken Griffey Jr. has been struggling with the bat lately. They've been pounding him inside with fastballs, so he's been a little bit of a slump for about a week.
2-2 the count to Hammerall leading off. And he's out on strikes. Abbott got that pitch in under his hands and struck him out, moving in.
Larritz continues to do a good job behind the plate with Stanley moving to first base with all the injuries. Mattingly says he's ready. Here's a hook, a curveball, not a slider or cutter, that is beneath the fists of Hammerall. We'll see if the defensive help on the right side with Stanley and Silvestri, who's not normally a second baseman, if that comes back to bite the Yankees tonight.
Edgar Martinez takes the pitch too high, ball one. Martinez hitting over 300 now at 302. It has been a struggle for him to get healthy the last couple of years, and he feels as good now as he's felt in a long time.
His legs must be healthy, no problem with a hamstring. He's even starting to try and steal some bases, has been successful. He means a lot to this lineup. There's Randy Johnson, who has really been on a tear through the month of June.
Martinez coming off a 4-for-4 night Wednesday against Detroit. Takes a strike, and the count is 2-1. That included his 8th home run of the year. He connected off left-hander David Wells. So he has 5 consecutive hits and has been on base in his last 6 at-bats, stretched over the last 2 games. And now starting this one. 3 balls and a strike to count.
And as the season progresses, if Ken Griffey Jr. stays on the Ruth Maris pace, how important will Martinez bat be in the 2nd spot and Buhner in the 4th spot to give him protection?
3-1 lifted high into short left. Out from short is Elster. Polonia in, but Elster out there to make the catch.
Got a chance right there. Do you see what the wind factor is tonight? High up in the air. We just saw drift toward left field, so anything in the air appears that it will carry to left field as we see Elster backpedaling.
Two gone, a strikeout and a high pop to short left. So the bases will be empty with 2 outs for Ken Griffey Jr. Jr. tonight enters the game hitting .319, 32 home runs, and that RBI total 64 ranks him 8th in the league.
Extra batting practice at 2:30 today, hitting off John McLaren, the bullpen coach. All he did was try and pound the ball and pull it into the right field seats. They've been pitching him in hard and up.
It is 32nd home run last Friday off left-hander Paul Ossenmacher. The pitch is too low, ball 1. On the home run leaderboard, 32 for Jr., Frank Thomas with 29, and Albert Bell of the Indians with 28.
Let's not forget Matt Williams in the National League. He now has 29 after a great July, and Bagwell behind him, Jeff Bagwell of Houston with 25. So you could say that if the pace keeps up and if the season isn't called off by a strike or some work stoppage, there are a few might challenge the record.
Yep. The 2-0 pitch is fouled back. Out of play it goes, and the count is 2-1.
This kid is a brilliant all-around player. I mean, his dad was a terrific defensive player, outstanding runner, and a good thrower. And played right field for the Big Red Machine, and then here with the Yankees, Junior all around is really something.
There's a liner into right. That's going to fall for a base hit. Gerald Williams makes the pickup on 1 hop. So a 2-out single for Ken Griffey Jr.
We talked about Ken Griffey Jr. and how they're pounding him inside. Well, Jim Abbott threw 1 pitch up and in that he fouled off 2-0, and then he gets the ball out. It's a tough pitch for Jim Abbott to throw. He doesn't pitch effectively to left-handers up and in. The ball drifts out over the plate, as that last one did. Here's a guy that really terrorizes the Yankees right now. Oh.
Jay Buhner. Buhner batting .276 for the year with 15 home runs. He's got a couple tape measure shots off Jim Abbott earlier this year. Two gone. And a swing and a miss. The ball rolls behind Jimmy Larratt's.
Did he?
Larratt's thinks there was contact made, and let's see what Tim Sheeta's going to say.
If there was contact made, I wonder if it was on the backswing or when he first started to swing.
Because Griffey has moved into second base, and here's another look.
It's a straight change before there was any contact. If there was, the ball is beneath the glove. It almost looked like he tipped-fouled it, but he didn't.
That's going to be a pass ball charged to Jim Larratt's.
Is that a little different movement that we see from Jim? A changeup that may not only went down, but looked like it went away. Usually, you know, he has difficulty turning the ball over that way. I don't know if that's what fooled Larratt's.
1 strike to count to Buhner. This one wide, pops away from Larratt's, and over to third goes Ken Griffey Jr. and another pass ball on back-to-back pitches.
Well, we've talked about Jim Larratt's earlier this season. He did have some trouble and some damage to that left hand. He did have some surgery on it, and right there he tries to backhand it, and it looked like he's using a brand new glove or a rubber glove as it just popped right out.
So Ken Griffey Jr., who singled his way on 2 pitches later, finds himself at third with a count 1-1. Too close to Buhner. 2 balls and a strike. Buhner back in April hit 2 home runs in the same game off Abbott. One they listed at .430, the other one at .439.
Over Jim's last 6 starts, he's seen his ERA gradually go up.
Strike call, and the count squares 2-2. Top of the first. There's Griffey. The 2-2. Did he go? He got him. Buhner out on strikes to retire the side. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Abbott. Bottom of the first from Yankee Stadium, and the Yankees figure to have a tough evening ahead with the left-hander Randy Johnson on the mound. He's coming off a great June, 9-4 overall, with the 8th best earned run average in the American League at 3.19. And here's Buck Showalter's lineup tonight, presented by 7-Eleven. Bernie Williams, Randy Velarde, and Jimmy Larids. Danny Tarnable, the DH, followed by Stanley and Gerald Williams. Silvestri hitting 7th with Kevin Elster 8th, and Luis Polonia in left. He'll bat 9th.
Mariners defense brought to you by Robert Stock. The defense starts with the man on the pitcher's mound, Randy Johnson, when he is pitching. Inner defense not as good, but the outfield, Buhner outstanding, and that man in center field, his throwing, there's nobody throws better from center field than Ken Griffey Jr., and we've seen him make some of the most sensational catches look easy. He does everything with such grace and style, and he's still not reached 25 years of age. There's an indication of how he enjoys playing the game.
Here's Randy Johnson. 17th start for Johnson. He has 7 complete games and 4 shutouts, leading the league in both those categories.
His last 8 outings, his last 8 starts, his ERA has been just barely over 1. That's how great he's been.
The leader in strikeouts with 129, and his first pitch is high to Bernie Williams.
And his first pitch probably was in the mid-90 range.
They got him in 93 to start Bernie. Williams batting .264. Fouls this one back, and the count is 1-1.
Would you bet that he turned it up a little bit after 93 and probably went to 95 or so? He's had some outings where it's just been incredible against the White Sox in particular.
Yeah, well, the last time out against the White Sox, he made 141 pitches, and on the last pitch of that game, he was registered at 100 miles per hour.
He threw 13 pitches in that game that went at least 99, and they said a couple were just shading triple digits.
And a breaking ball misses. 2 balls and a strike, and he's been getting that pitch over, Tony, and when he does, it's almost unfair.
He's got 2 kinds of breaking balls. One he'll backdoor, and then he throws what he calls his real power breaking ball down and into right-handers, which is untouchable.
2-2. This one by Bernie Williams.
Sammy Ellis, his pitching coach, said that every game before he warms up, he'll throw a lot of changeups just to keep it in case the fastball isn't there. And he said, but really when he gets in the game, he might throw 3 or 4, and that's it.
We have access to a radar gun tonight. The breaking ball he threw to Bernie was 78. So here's a guy with quite a spread, and Bernie gets it through on the left side. He'll make the turn at first and hold Mitchell up with the ball in left. Bernie Williams grounds one between Fermin and Martinez.
That looked like a breaking ball. An infield with not a whole lot of range.
So the Yankees have their leadoff hitter on, with Randy Velarde stepping in. Bernie's hitting well over 360 right-handed now.
And you can steal off Randy Johnson. He can be long to the plate at times.
Ball 1 to Velarde. Randy now up to 282. He started last night at third base and had 3 hits, scored 2 runs. Too low. 2 balls and no strikes.
Wade Boggs needed a day off, and you give it to him against like Johnson. Wade's not had much success. In fact, struck out a lot against Randy Johnson. Very unusual. Mattingly could have played. We may see him later defensively. Gallego apparently not as severe as they thought. Not much swelling or discoloration in the calf.
Foul ball. That's going to be out of play. And it's 2-1.
In fact, Paul O'Neill needed a day off too. He looked like his bat was dragging a little bit. He's had quite a few 0-4s lately.
You know, it gets to this point in the season when that happens to a lot of hitters. Leading up to the All-Star break, and that bat gets a little heavy, a little slow, starts to drag a bit. Bernie's back at it first. That's Mike Blowers. He's been dividing time over there with Tino Martinez on a more or less platoon basis the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, with Edgar Martinez back playing every day, no spot for Blowers at third base.
And a ground ball that gets through into center. Williams on his way to third. Griffey falls down, and everybody's going to be safe. First and third on the base hit into center by Randy Velarde.
I don't think Junior was going to have a play at Bernie anyway. Here again, one ball hit to Fermin's right, just sneaks through. One to his left, just sneaks through. Remember, they had a Gold Glover there in Omar Vizquel. They did not want to re-sign him. He was traded to Cleveland, where he's doing a good job. Really, they didn't want to sign Vizquel to a long-term deal, which he probably requested because of their young #1 draft choice, Alex Rodriguez, who has moved up from A ball to AA ball within the last month.
And here is Jim Larritz.
There we go.
There goes the runner off first. The pitch is a ball. The throw is through. Backed up, however.
What a mix-up.
By Amaral. So a steal for Velarde. The pitch was a ball. Second and third with nobody out.
There's a mix-up, really. Fermin tries to take it on the run. Amaral is there, but he's standing behind the bag. I wonder if there's a mix-up as to whom was going to cover. Both players on the move.
So Larritz with 2 men in scoring position and nobody out. And this one picks up the edge. And the count is 1-1.
He has gotten a lot more confidence in that pitch, backdooring that little slider. He's got a bigger one that he starts in the center of the plate to right-handers and bites and goes out of the zone under the hands of the right-handed batters. Generally, though, he's fastball after fastball. Another hook.
Down and in. 2 balls and a strike. Larritz 3 out of 11 lifetime against Randy Johnson with a home run off him.
Not unusual for Randy Johnson to pitch with a lot of base runners. He walks quite a few, hit the occasional batter.
And the pitch too low. So the count is 3 balls and a strike. The home run for Larritz came off Johnson this year here at the stadium. He hit a solo homer in the 7th inning of the game back in April. And a wave and a miss. So the count goes to 3-2.
That was a different look fastball, 3-1. Once in a while he'll throw one with the seams. It doesn't really sink, although he's getting more ground balls this year. 2 have sneaked through thus far. It'll run away from the right handers.
The 3-2 rolled foul behind Brian Butterfield. Singles by Bernie Williams and Randy Velarde. Velarde with a steal of second. His 4th stolen base of the year. He's 4 of 5 in the running department now.
Well, the one thing we've seen the Yankees do, even though their lineup is somewhat decimated with players out with injuries and on the DL, they beat or knock out the best pitchers in the league consistently.
And a foul ball back as Larritz battles Randy Johnson here to a full count. That last pitch, the hardest one we've registered so far, 96.
Wouldn't take him long to loosen up. They say that first strikeout he got against the White Sox, he struck out Frank Thomas with a 99-mile-per-hour fastball, and then you talked about the 100-mile-an-hour to Zupson.
And strike 3 call.
How can you look for a breaking ball
3-2
as hard as this guy throws out? 3-2. He hangs him a hook on him. Wow.
So Larritz called out on strikes.
I mean, this guy's been in such a good groove. You can see by that last pitch, he has become fearless on the mound. Whoa, talk about freezing a guy. 88 miles an hour. When you figure that the average major league fastball is about 85. Now, this is the fast gun, but here's an 88-mile-an-hour breaking ball. Reminds you of J.R. Richard. He threw that hard slider in the low 90s.
Yep. And if you were right-handed against him, you might as well mail in the at-bats. Lou Piniella out to have a word with Randy Johnson before he faces Danny Tartabull. 2 men in scoring position with 1 out.
Unusual this early. There is a base open. Tartabull, a guy, in fact, no one when he's throwing hard is going to catch up to his fastball. Very few can.
And a strike on the inside part of the plate to Tartabull.
I think we talked earlier this year and last year when we saw Randy Johnson how Nolan Ryan and Tom House, the Texas Rangers, had helped him. Talked to Sammy Ellis, but he said, yeah, so we don't have to remind him anymore. He drives right toward home plate. He doesn't spin off. In fact, he said with the new delivery he's got, given to him by Nolan Ryan, pretty much, he said he's become a good fielder. He doesn't spin off. His back to the home plate. He said anything hit near him, he usually catches.
He was in off the plate on that last pitch to Danny Tartabull, and that registered at 97. It's 1-1. This one away. 2 balls and a strike. So we have the range 78 to 97 so far here in the first inning. The Yankees have a threat. And boy, when you get one going against this guy, a great idea to capitalize, because you don't know when you're going to get another one. Foul ball back.
Really, though, it's not that unusual, and it wasn't for Nolan Ryan either, and very few others, for Randy Johnson to get a couple on with no outs and then strike out the side. I mean, he is more than capable, has done it a lot. Look at that.
98
pitch
on that last pitch. Fouled by Tartabull to run the count to 2-2. Here it is from Randy Johnson, and a shot to third, picked up by Martinez. They have Bernie Williams caught in the rundown, and chasing him back to third. Wilson puts the tag on him, so he stayed in the rundown long enough so that the Yankees could still get a second and third out of the situation. It's a fielder's choice.
I thought when Lou Piniella went out, as Tartabull moved into second base during the rundown, I thought maybe Lou said, just don't throw him a breaking ball. This was a breaking ball, hit very sharply. Bernie on a contact play starts in, and you can see Willie Randolph directing traffic at his third base spots, getting Danny to go to second. So it's played right by Bernie. Terrific play, I thought, by Edgar Martinez. That ball was smoked by Tartabull. They don't execute the rundown as well as it should be done, and by all the extra throws, runners are at second and third now.
2 outs. And here's Mike Stanley. Fouling this one back and out of play. Strike 1. The rundown: Martinez, Wilson, Martinez and Wilson. 5-2, 5-2, with Wilson putting the tag on Bernie Williams. Stanley with 9 home runs for the year, hitting .251. He's hit safely in 11 of his last 13 games. 0-2.
It's not that he's just throwing from the mid-90s to the high 90s. It's a fact of the movement on that pitch. You almost wonder, when a guy's throwing that hard, how his pitches can be that live. That ball just jumped out of his hand and out of the strike zone for Stanley.
He's been 97 and 96 on the first 2 pitches to Stanley, ahead of him 0-2. Mike fouls it back. 98 on that one. So Stanley seeing some hard stuff with Velarde at third and Tartabull at second.
Wilson will have a little talk with him on a 0-2 count to Stanley. Watch Randy Johnson. We talk about what Nolan Ryan and Tom House had him do. When he'd land on his front foot, he'd land on his heel, and he'd spin on the heel, and that would pull most of his energy toward third base. So he really wasn't driving with all his energy, all his strength toward the catcher, actually through the catcher when he throws. Now he's doing it.
Too close. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Watch how much more
first inning threat.
How much more compact his delivery is, how much smoother his landing foot is, where he doesn't spin out on the front foot. You can see his follow-through position with everything going through the catcher.
The 1-2.
Wow.
And he got him. Boy, that's not fair. When you've seen 98, 97, and then he comes back with that in the low 80s. This copyrighted telecast is authorized under rights granted by the New York Yankees solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Yankees and Madison Square Garden Network is prohibited. Mike Blowers leading off here. We're at Yankee Stadium, top of the second inning. Blowers playing first base tonight, hitting .250 with 4 home runs. And Jim Abbott's first pitch misses, ball 1. Abbott a couple strikeouts in the first inning, left a man at third.
Mike Blowers certainly has found his niche with Lou Piniella. A platoon situation, becomes their third catcher if it is necessary late in the game.
And Abbott throws him a strike, so the count is 1-1.
Blowers, one of those guys who just had trouble with high hard stuff from the right-hander in and that curve ball away. It's ideal situation batting mostly against left-handed pitchers.
The foul ball up the right side, and the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. Flowers, the former Yankee, he and his wife Nicole expecting their second child due, how's this for timing, during the All-Star break.
Oh.
And he's hoping that she makes it until then. 1-2 the count. That squares it at 2 balls 2 strikes.
Flowers, of course, a former Yankee. They thought he was going to be their everyday third baseman coming out of the Montreal organization. Bucky Dent liked the style. Joe Sparks, who's then a coach, came over from Montreal, praised Blowers highly, and they went out and got him.
And a chop to short. Elster gets rid of the ball, and Blowers is out number 1. Elster to Stanley.
You know, Dwayne, if you had an infielder, middle infielder, who was a plodding type player, you'd worry about his arm strength. But I know you've seen Elster a lot. Before he hit the arm, his feet are so quick, and you can see how he got his feet ready to go to get rid of the ball quickly. So a little loss of arm strength is not going to hurt him.
1 gone in the second. Here's Keith Mitchell, batting an even .300. There's a strike. Mitchell in left field.
He was injured early in the year, missed about 35 games, had an injury to his left foot, I believe, an arch problem. They had a scramble in left field, and Eric Anthony went down. He's got a little knee tenderness.
So the count is 1-1. Five home runs, 12 runs batted in for Mitchell. The count goes to 2 balls and a strike.
Lou Piniella just hopes that his team can hang in there. Oh, maybe a few weeks after the All-Star break, and they'll get through with all their eastern swings, because everything's east of Seattle, obviously. But I'm talking about the East Coast teams. And they go from Baltimore to here, and then they'll have, as he says, a relatively easy schedule as far as travel. They travel more than anybody.
Ground ball right side, and Stanley makes the flip to Abbott off the mound to cover, and Mitchell is out of there. 2 ground balls in the second inning.
Good sign for Abbott, tying hitters up inside.
Base is empty for the designated hitter, Mark Newfield. We saw a little bit of him last year after he spent most of the season at Jacksonville. He played a little better than 20 games with Seattle. And up again. He was having a good year at the AAA level this season.
Well, Lou Piniella liked him 2 springs ago and then brought him up last year to take a look.
Strike call. And he's young. He's still only 21 years old. Might be 22 now. This one is too low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Batting with the bases empty and 2 gone. Count runs to 2 balls and a strike.
They list Lee Elia, former Yankee coach, Cubs and Phillies manager, as their hitting instructor, but really that job is shared. There's Lee, who is here with Dallas Green. Really, Lou Piniella perhaps does more of the hitting instructing than Lee Elia. And I'm sure that in their pre-game hitters meeting they said, lay off the pitch. Middle third in from Abbott, because that's the one that ends up being a ball. Try and lay off it.
The count is 3-1. Base is empty. 2 gone. And a ground ball back through the middle. Silvestri, low throw, and Stanley comes up with it at first. 3 ground balls. 1, 2, 3. Go the Mariners. From the Bronx tonight, the Yankees opening their homestand. The 3 West Coast teams in. Seattle, Oakland will be in, and so will the California Angels. Here's Gerald Williams leading off, and the pitch from Randy Johnson is a strike. Gerald in right field tonight will be followed by Dave Silvestri and then Kevin Elster. 1-1 now.
Every once in a while you see Johnston change his arm angles even to right-handers and drops down just a little bit, and he gets a little more movement. Ball starts inside and darts back. There's a little breaking ball.
And he throws it for a strike. So it's a 1-ball 2-strike count. So that went back in the low 80s again. It registered at 82. The first 2 pitches to Gerald, 96 and 97. And a tap foul. So that kind of gives you the range that these hitters will see off Randy Johnson. And when he's throwing that breaking ball for strikes, Tony, we saw how devastating it can be when he struck out Mike Stanley.
He has been a late comer. And what you do is you take Nolan Ryan's fastball, and then you give Noli that great curve and the great change.
And he has Joe Williams right out on strikes.
Little changeup.
The 3rd strikeout. And this one again in the low 80s.
That's his changeup. 82-mile-an-hour changeup. First one he's thrown in this ball game as far as we can tell. Yeah, Gerald, you didn't pick an easy guy tonight.
Here's Silvestri waving and fouling it back for a strike. Well, that's the tough role. Gerald Williams.
Well, how about Dave Silvestri?
Dave Silvestri up from the minor leagues.
Yeah, they say, Dave, why don't you go play second base in Boston, and why don't you get a chance to bat against Roger Clemens?
Too high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, Nolan Ryan never got control conscious till maybe the second half of his career. He was pretty much a power pitcher, and then all of a sudden he started spotting his fastball.
He actually became a pretty good control pitcher,
yes.
Tony. Fastball high. 2 balls and a strike. Now, when you look at his numbers the second half of his career in terms of walks and pitch location and all that goes with it, he was one of the better control pitchers around. Wow. 2-2 now. That's 397-mile-per-hour fastballs in a row to Dave Silvestri. The 2-2 wide. Five complete games in his last 7 starts.
Here's a guy who had a great second half last year. He didn't start too quickly, but he finished in a big hurry after the All-Star break.
And Silvestri is called out on strikes on the pitch away, picking up the edge. 4 strikeouts tonight already for Randy Johnson. So against Silvestri looking.
You will see usually off Randy Johnson a lot of check swings. Is he emotional on the mound or not? He really gets wrapped up in it, but the check swings because you have to start your bat so quickly to catch up with 95 plus.
There's Kevin Elster. Takes it too high, ball 1. Elster had hit .256 at Albany. Played 3 games down at Tampa. A strike to count. Now 1 ball, 1 strike. 98 that last pitch.
12 years.
I'm going to be a Yankee player in 12 years. All right.
Well, then she's going to be a pitcher. Because you see what Phil Niekro said, who's managing the Silver Bullets. He said there will be. There will be. He said it will be a pitcher. Because pitchers don't have to deal in power. And Phil said, hey, look, you know, women perhaps don't have the strength to compete on a man's level as far as hitting a baseball that far. But he says the finesse aspect of pitching, he said a woman will do it.
It doesn't seem that far-fetched.
He didn't seem to think it'd be that far removed from this year.
2 balls and 2 strikes the count on Elster.
I remember Davey Johnson when he managed the Mets 2 years before Kevin Elster played a game in the major leagues. Dave Johnson was raving about one of the best young defensive shortstops he'd ever seen. And I think Elster was playing A-ball then.
He's out on strikes. So Johnson strikes out the side. He's faced 8 hitters and has 5 strikeouts in the game. Headed out the Deegan and toward the LIE and perhaps the New England Thruway. Randy Johnson off to a quick start on this weekend as well, Tony, with 5 strikeouts through 2 innings. So Jim Abbott has his hands full with the Mariners and facing Randy Johnson tonight. He'll face Felix Fermin to open the 3rd inning for Seattle. Fermin, Wilson, and then Amaral.
Edgar Martinez, his counterpart on the left side, or his third baseman, who has already led the league in hitting, was saying that Felix is now my hitting instructor. And he is giving them surprising offensive numbers, hitting the ball to all fields. Never did strike out much, but hitting the ball with more authority now.
And he shortens on the bat and takes the pitch for a strike. Well, hits the ball the other way a lot, hits the ball to center, and he is among the top 10 in the league in hitting now.
See, I think a guy like this benefits with the livelier baseball because you used to be able to play him very shallow. He couldn't hit the ball over your head. Now all of a sudden you got to play him deeper, and some of those line drives fall in. You have to respect him a little more. He spreads the outer defense out more.
Fouls this one out of play. 2 strikes the count. Felix Fermin, long time with the Indians. Now playing every day at shortstop for Seattle. Chops this one to 3rd. That's a foul ball.
I've been trying to think. Well, those fellas like Bob Pager at Sports Desk, Mike Crispino, what did they have to do the last couple of weeks with only baseball and some World Cup? I mean, no more Knicks, no more Rangers. They just sit there and read or what?
I guess they're zeroing in on all the World Cup action as well as the Yankees, but it's still not quite as busy as it was. You're right.
Did they take a cut and pay, or are they paying the same amount?
No, you know what? No cut and pay. Absolutely not. They're answering all their fan mail now. A ball, 2 strikes.
Change.
And the count goes to 2-2.
That is a very important pitch for Jim Abbott. And again, it becomes an important pitch only if he can throw it in the area of the strike zone. If he misses too much, you're not going to see big league hitters swing at it too often. Just to show them a pitch near the strike zone, put another thought in their head. It makes the fastball a little bit better. It's the backdoor breaking ball, slider.
There it is on 2-2. And a fly ball into right, sending Gerald Williams back a few steps, and he makes the grab for the out. 1 gone in the 3rd. Let's go to Sports Desk now, where Mike Crispino is standing by. And here at Yankee Stadium, we have no score. Dan Wilson, the catcher, steps in. He's hitting .222. Abbott starts him with a strike.
And as this home schedule proceeds up to the All-Star break, all 3 of the Western clubs come in. Another young star that you'll see in, Tim Salmon, could represent the Angels in the All-Star game.
Oh, a drive hit deep to left. Polonia all the way back and runs out of room. 2nd home run of the year for Dan Wilson, and the Mariners lead 1-0 on an 0-1 pitch. Wilson, the number 9 hitter in Lou Pinella's lineup, goes deep.
They like his defense. One of the reasons they let Valley go, and then they picked up Wilson. He's become really, when we were out on the West Coast of Seattle early in the season, he became Lou Piniella's personal project. The fastball that stays upstairs. He levels on it and several rows in. But Lou has really been working. He gives him days off at times and works intensively and extensively with him on his hitting. Trying to get a little more weight shift with Dan Wilson.
Well, his first big league home run was a game winner against Oakland. He hit it off Ron Darling on the 11th of June and has just connected for number 2 of Jim Abbott tonight. A ball, no strikes, the count to Rich Hammerall. Two and nothing now.
It's interesting as you review pitches, whether it's Terry Mulholland or Jim Abbott, and see what kinds of pitches are hit off home runs. You see the occasional one off of a pitch like Danny Tartable hitting Boston down around the knees, but generally speaking, they're at the belt or a little bit above.
Now Abbott has fallen behind Hammerall 3-0. 14th home run given up by Jim Abbott this year.
And it's one of the reasons why Jimmy Key is so extremely effective. He is usually right down at the knees, off the plate outside.
And Abbott follows the home run by walking Hammerall on 4 straight pitches, so he might want to try to refocus.
You know, you could arguably make the point that the 2 best pitchers in the American League right now are in the ballpark today. There's one, Jimmy Key. The other is on the mound for the Seattle Mariners today, Randy Johnson, both of whom will be at the All-Star game, I would think. Different styles, but boy, they're both something. Hammerall has speed. You've got to watch out with Martinez up, a great hit and run man, that they don't start a runner.
Edgar Martinez. And Abbott comes in, throws a strike to him. In Jim's outing against the Mariners on the 19th of April, he gave up 3 home runs. We talked about those 2 to Buhner, and Rich Hammerall, the fellow he just walked, hit one out in that game against him. Off speed is low, blocked by Larretts, and the count is 1-1. No chance for an advance by Hammerall. Vermeen went out to right with a fly ball. Dan Wilson homered. Hammerall has walked. Now Edgar Martinez. Sharply hit ball foul. The count is 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Louis, as we told you, in left field, the only left-handed bat. And one of the reasons, very simply, is first a lot of injuries, but also thinking it would be a relatively low-scoring game with Randy Johnson in. Buck Showalter said, hey, look, he's been playing defensively so well, made a game-saving catch in Boston. I need his defense out, even though it goes 0 for 4.
Two balls, 2 strikes. And the other thing, if he does happen to get on base, he does introduce the speed element. So Polonia in left field tonight and down in the lineup, hitting 9th against the left-hander Randy Johnson. It's a 1-0 ball game. Seattle leading, top of the 3rd, move to first. Hammerall is back in. After hitting .343 in 1992, Martinez struggled with injuries and hit just .237 in 42 games last year. Again over to first, and Hammerall is back in.
One thing Lou Piniella wanted is, because he got used to the National League style of play over at Cincinnati with more speed, was trying to incorporate more speed. They haven't won a whole lot of ball games, so he hasn't had a chance to use it as much as he wants. They've stolen just 31 bases. Hammerall's a guy who might take a chance.
And now we go to 3 balls and 2 strikes with only 1 out, and Hammerall at first. Well, Amaral, there's Ken Griffey Jr. on deck.
Had some good minor league stolen base numbers.
Yes, he has. He's stolen as many as 57 in one stop. Just a couple years ago, had 53. Then while playing at Calgary, he's going ground ball to first. Stanley up with it, and his play is at first. So Amaral breaking on the 1-out 3-2 pitch, moves into second as Martinez grounds out Stanley unassisted.
We talked about it up in Boston when Matt Noakes played first base. You're not going to lose anything in hands at first base. Catchers have great hands. And Stanley, playing a little bit like Don Mattingly, did not stay holding the man on. He drifts off the bag with Almiral and protects the hole, makes a fine play.
2 outs. Amaral at second for Ken Griffey Jr. Griffey singled his first time. And lifts a fly ball into left. Polonia right there. And that will take care of Seattle. The Mariners settle for the run they got on the home run by Dan Wilson. They leave a man, bottom of the third coming. 1-0 Seattle. Luis Polonia batting ninth, leads off against Randy Johnson. Bottom of the third underway as Johnson throws him a strike. The Seattle left-handers struck out the side in the second. Drops down a little bit with that one. How about that pitch for a strike?
Oh my goodness.
0-2. And strike three call.
Randy Johnson, every time he strikes somebody out, he gives a wave of the hand as if to say, go grab some pine, sit down. So he
take a look at this.
Didn't take long, did it? Another breaking ball. He drops down and he says, grab some pine right there. Out of here.
He has 6 strikeouts. He got Stanley to end the first. Struck out Williams, Silvestri, and Elster in the second, and now Polonia to start the third. So 5 of those in a row. And here's Bernie Williams.
I thought it was interesting when Tom House and Nolan Ryan had Randy Johnson, and they took using the high-tech techniques and took high-speed video of him.
Foul ball out of play.
When they found that with this new delivery, with the energy going toward home plate, he was releasing the ball between 6 inches and 12 inches closer to the batter. Now, that doesn't seem like a whole lot. When you're talking about less than 2/5 of a second, you're dealing hundreds of thousands of split seconds that you have to pull the trigger on this guy.
Absolutely.
That little bit makes a difference to the hitter and to him. Makes him that much more effective.
This one is high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He has an understanding of the mechanics of his motion now.
You know that he's had better command of those off-speed pitches. We've seen the breaking ball already. That changeup. Bernie is in the hole. No ball and 2 strikes.
And Dwayne, he's become a pitcher that now catchers don't mind catching. I mean, earlier in his career, he was not just wild. I mean, you could set a target. He would be nowhere near it. Now you set a target. He's in the area. So he's controlling the strike zone also.
Ground ball back up through the middle, and Bernie Williams has his second hit off Randy Johnson.
I mean, how pretty is Bernie swing from the right side, huh?
2 for 2, a single into center.
Bernie much shorter, much quicker, and more compact from the right side. Beautiful heads down, not quite the uppercut as he does from the left side. And
Tony, that's a nice job. He'd seen a 98-mile-per-hour fastball in that sequence, and then saw that off-speed pitch down about 81. Johnson came back about 97, and he sent it right back through the middle.
He's gone. He got him.
And he's picked off. Blowers chasing him. Now Fermin, and Fermin puts the tag on him. That's going to be a caught stealing on the pickoff. 1-3-6, and the Yankees lose the base runner almost as quickly as they put him aboard.
Well, if you're Buck Showalter, you've got to think one of 2 things. Either Bernie tipped it off going on first move, or do they have our signs? He's going on first move, trying to get in scoring position. They've got him dead. What they advise players to do, just keep on going. Maybe the first baseman hits you in the back with a throw. Maybe he'll throw it wild. Maybe somebody won't get there in time and you got a chance to get it. But once you stop and get in the rundown, you're pretty much dead meat.
1 ball, no strikes, the count on Velarde. Randy takes the breaking ball down and in. 2 balls, no strikes.
I'll tell you who really helps Lou Piniella on the bench is Lee Elia. Picking up those things. I don't know if it's a sign or if it's a tendency of the base runner or just a gut feel that you have, and Lou will help him. There's Lee Elia right there.
There's a lot of Leo DeRocher and Eddie Stanky and Lee Elia.
Somebody called it right out of that tandem there.
The count is 3-1. 2 outs. Seattle leading 1-0. Randy Johnson, 6'10". Down to third. Long throw by Edgar Martinez. Off the bag, and Velarde's safe.
I would think they're going to give him a hit. And when you've got Randy Johnson pitching, you can see how far off the line Edgar Martinez plays. They don't usually pull him unless he changes or gets the slider down and in. Blowers makes a nice play going out and getting that ball and not colliding with the runner, but he couldn't make the tag.
So it goes as a base hit for Velarde. The Yankees have 4 hits. Velarde 2 and Bernie Williams 2. 2 outs with Randy on base, and here's Jim Leyritz. Too high. Leyritz was called out on strikes his first time. Over to first again. Velarde picked up a steal in the first following the base hit by Bernie Williams. Velarde singled and Williams went to third and then swiped second. Randy did, his 4th of the year. It's too high. 2 balls, no strikes, the count. Leyritz catching and hitting third. Upstairs, 3-0. Wilson out to talk with Randy Johnson just to try to get him in a little different groove.
The last time the Yankees saw Randy Johnson, he was having knee problems. And for 3 or 4 starts, they even talked about surgery. The doctors finally said, no, you can pitch with it. You will not damage it any further. And they had drained his knee to relieve some of the pressure. He may have to have arthroscopic surgery in the offseason, but when he felt comfortable when they said you can't damage it anymore, he's really gotten on a roll.
He walks Leyritz. First walk given up by Randy Johnson.
Here comes Sammy Ellis.
2 men on with 2 men out. Danny Tartable's going to be the hitter. It was Tartable at the plate with 1 out and 2 men in scoring position in the first when Lou Piniella went to the mound. This time with 2 outs and men at first and second in the third. Sammy Ellis, the Mariners pitching coach, heads to the hill.
You know, when Sammy Ellis came out of spring training, they said, well, and Lou Piniella agreed, we've got a chance to have the best starting staff in the Western Division. They were concerned about their bullpen. Well, it's turned out to be the opposite. Usually when Randy Johnson goes out, they're very confident that they can pick up a win. Almost everybody else has struggled, but the bullpen's been better than they thought. Ayala's come along and Risley's come along.
And now they've lost Greg Hibbert. They thought the left-hander Hibbert would be a big help to their rotation, and now he has some serious rotator cuff problems. Here's Danny Tartable. He started to go. Check, says John Shulock down at first. Ball 1. The Yankees down 1-0. We're in the bottom of the third. They have 4 hits and a walk tonight off Randy Johnson, who also has struck out 6.
Wow.
This one up there? And gets away from Wilson over to third.
He got crossed up.
Velarde.
Well, if he got crossed himself up, but that ball was just so hard and with so much movement, that just got a part of the glove and maybe part of the mask.
This coming in at 98 miles per hour.
Whoa. I think when he reached his glove up, he blocked himself off, went right in front of his face, and that late movement.
So Velarde advances to third on a pass ball. Larrett's still at first. 2 outs, 2 balls, no strikes, the count. Danny Tartable at the plate. Two and 1. Yankees left 2 men in scoring position in the first inning.
You will not see too many guys played as pull hitters in the outfield, as hard as this guy throws.
Ball 3. Johnson trying to get the ball down. It's 3-1 now. Here it is. And a check swing. That ball is foul, out of play. And the count's going to go to 3-2, which will add a couple steps to Larrett's over at first base.
And we'll see if Randy Johnson will hang a hook on Danny Tartable as he's done before, even though it's 3-2 with his overpowering fastball.
He's been 97 and 98 with all his pitches here to Tartable. The count is 3-2. And the pitch. Another check swing and a foul ball.
You know, Sammy Ellis was talking about that game we talked about where his last pitch to Zubcic against the White Sox was 100 miles per hour. He said, we looked at the fastballs and we said, we think he averaged 96 or 97 in that game, just on his fastballs.
He's done that and a little more against Danny Tartable in this at bat. 3-2 pitch again. Tartable lines it into left. That ball is headed for the corner. Velarde scores. Larrett's hitting third. Randolph puts up the stop sign. Into second goes Tartable, and this game is tied at 1. Danny Tartable driving in his 45th run with his 18th double of the year.
Randy Johnson threw Danny Tartable a breaking ball and sped up his bat, and he pulled it in the corner. There it is. A little slider. Trying to throw it for a strike. Tartable tattoos it.
Tony, he went from 96, 97 consistently on those first 6 pitches in that sequence, and threw him that pitch down around 84.
Interesting. That's the breaking ball, and Danny, you can see by checking his swing, wasn't getting around the fastball. And
now Mike Stanley. This one a strike on the inside corner. So Mike Stanley, who struck out swinging his first time, looked at that fastball on the inside edge. Strike 1 this time. He starts to go, lays off, and the count is 1-1. The Yankees with a run to tie in the third.
Well, 2 springs ago, everybody was saying, what are the Yankees going to do against left-handed pitching? Well, all last season, a lot of it because of Stanley, they proved they can hurt left-handed pitchers. And even with some injuries, they still can do it.
And a breaking ball, it's foul, a little tap down the left side. 1-2. Yankees with a run on 5 hits. Danny Tartable driving in the run, chasing home Velarde.
And all of a sudden on the breaking ball, even that last one to Stanley, he was out in front, but the Yankee hitters aren't getting fooled quite as much. And with such really great hitters like Boggs and Mattingly on the bench, especially, and veterans like Noakes and O'Neill, wouldn't be surprised if they didn't pick something up in his delivery when he's throwing the breaking ball.
The 1-2, hard stuff, and he strikes out Mike Stanley. The Yankees are finished in the third, but they pick up the tying run. 3 hits and 2 men left, a pass ball in the frame, and at the end of 3, we are tied 1-1. It's brought to you in part by your local Chrysler Plymouth dealer. Our ball game heads into the 4th from Yankee Stadium. We are tied 1-1. The Mariners picking up their run on the Dan Wilson home run. The Yankees countered with a run in the bottom of the 3rd. Danny Tartabull driving home Randy Velarde. Jim Abbott against Randy Johnson tonight. Johnson has 7 strikeouts through 3 innings.
And perhaps very upset that he did issue his first walk of the game to Larritz. And then the slider to Danny Tartabull, 3-2, rifled in the corner. Danny did a terrific job of hitting off it.
Jay Buhner will open the 4th inning.
Where will he be next year?
Well, people are wondering, including Jay Buhner. He says he'd like to be in Seattle, but he's not real sure right now. Buhner struck out swinging in the 1st. 1 of 2 posted by Abbott in that inning and in the game. The first pitch is in there for a strike on our Budweiser quote book. Buhner, speaking of the Mariners, they don't think as highly of me as I think of myself when it comes to contract talks. 0-2.
Well, when you look at the labor talks, at all but a standstill. There have been an exchange. Ownership have given the Players Association a proposal. There should be a response probably before the All-Star game. A lot of owners are sitting back on trades. And the owners still think that the players are going to buy a salary cap. Why go out and sign a guy to a multi-year contract when there could be, although I doubt it, some kind of cap tied to revenue sharing? But that's when Ken Griffey Jr. really was very outspoken. He said, hey, look, it doesn't look like they want to win around here. I'd like to stay in Seattle too, but I won't and don't care to if they're not going to give us a winning team.
Buhner went out after that pitch and strikes out to open the 4th. 3rd strikeout for Jim Abbott.
Jimmy pulls the string on Buhner and has him way out in front.
Regarding Griffey's comments, it wasn't so much that he wanted to be traded. It was just his frustration with not being on a winning team. He wants to win.
And his manager, Lou Piniella, said, I agree with him.
Yep.
Lou, of course, was used to winning here and managing a world championship team in Cincinnati.
Mike Blowers trying to hold up.
Great straight change.
Strike 1. Blowers grounded out his first time. Into the dirt. One ball, 1 strike.
One thing you see with Jim Larritz, he's not afraid to back up one pitch with the exact same one if it's a good one. Change up, and way out in front comes right back with a change up. Got Buhner on a change up, so really, in effect, he threw 3 consecutive changes.
Too low. Well, it's such an important pitch for Jim Abbott to vary speeds and give a different look inside, outside.
And he started working on it last year with Tony Cloninger. Didn't use it effectively too often in the game, but he's still doing it the same way Tony wanted him to.
2-2 the count.
It's a matter of Billy Connors coming in and then just trying to refine that pitch and then have his catchers incorporate it into a series of pitches.
A 1-1 tie as we play in the 4th inning. Abbott facing Blowers. And this is away, and the count is full. Jim Abbott 0-1 this year against Seattle. His lifetime mark against the Mariners is just 3-9. Foul out of play. He'll have to make another 3-2 pitch.
Career-wise, Jim Abbott's a sub-500 pitcher, but you got to recall the 1 year with the Angels. He had a terrific ERA, but his run support was non-existent.
Yeah, he is 65 and 71 lifetime. He'd be a 500 career pitcher if not for his record against Seattle. 3-2 into left center, falling in for a base hit in front of Bernie Williams. So Blowers on a 3-2 pitch picks up the third Mariner hit.
And back to one of Billy Conner's focuses way back in spring training, not just not walking many, but also trying to get, especially for Jim Abbott, some of those 3 or 4 pitch batters. Instead of going 3 and 2, having foul pitches off, having see all of your pitches.
Here's the left fielder Keith Mitchell. Ground ball right side. Silvestri falls down, looks to first, out there, and into second base goes Blowers. Silvestri shaded toward the middle, had to range far to his left and then slipped as he got to the ball.
Well, he thought of pirouetting and trying to get the ball to Elster to get Blowers, who does not run well, and then he makes a nice recovery to get Keith Mitchell. Right there, he's starting to turn before he had the ball. Showed some arm strength, throwing from his knees. Did a good job just getting the one, but there's a runner in scoring position.
Now Mark Neufeld, the designated hitter. Neufeld retired his first time on a good play by Silvestri. The pitch is in there for a strike. Neufeld came up on the 23rd of June when Shane Mack's brother Gwen Mack was outrighted. Neufeld was hitting .332 with 15 home runs and 56 runs batted in at Calgary. 1 ball, 1 strike. That covered 68 games, so he was on a pretty good pace in the Pacific Coast League at the AAA level. And at second with 2 outs. We're in the top of the 4th. The tie game 1-1. Ground ball third. Velarde up with it. Across to Stanley. And the Mariners are out of there in the 4th. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. Bottom of the 4th coming from the stadium. Yankees and the Mariners are tied at 1. We're tied 1-1 at Yankee Stadium. Gerald Williams leading off against Randy Johnson. Hard stuff and a swing and a miss. Strike 1. Gerald struck out swinging his first time. 1 of 7 strikeouts posted by Randy Johnson. Johnson gave him a lot of hard stuff the first time around and then got him on a changeup. 0-2.
Say one thing against Randy Johnson, sometimes nothing worked, but one thing that's not is taking those big swings. You had better cut it down, make yourself more compact. And that high leg kick for Gerald Williams, it is difficult.
One ball, 2 strikes. Gerald at the moment hitting .288. He has a couple home runs for the year. Down on the count to Randy Johnson. Time call. Yankees 3-2 against the Mariners this year. Oh, he's out on strikes.
Oh,
that's 8. Butch Hobson, who was a little excited during the Yankee Boston series at Fenway, right there with Larry Barnett and Greg Kosk, being restrained by Mo Vaughn and Damon Berryhill. Ruling came down today, a 5-game suspension for Butch Hobson. Here's Silvestri waving at this one and missing. Strike 1.
So Dr. Brown, after reviewing the tapes, in spite of what some people said in Boston, had to decide he didn't throw a punch, and we didn't think he did either.
Nope.
And because Butch Hobson's record was so good, it's just 5 days. He doesn't have many altercations with umpires. Wonder what if Lou's going to get anything.
Nothing in two. Well, he
threw that base and picked it up.
In the game against the Tigers the other night, Lou Piniella got a little excited himself.
Had a decision reversed, and the replay showed that the umpires were right. They changed it. And
strike 3 called, so 2 strikeouts in this inning. That's 9 in the game. There's Lou the other day against the Tigers in the Kingdome as he takes care of second base. He thought Mike Blowers should have had a home run. Initially it was ruled a home run and then changed. He had to settle for a double.
Well, Merriweather, who is now going off to the left of your screen, called it a home run, and then Ted Hendry came in and said no, a fan in right field reached down into the playing field and it was just a double. So the umpires got it right, but Lou apparently left the bench, said, I think I'm going to be thrown out of here. I've got to argue for that call.
A ball, no strikes, the count to Kevin Elster. 9 strikeouts for Randy Johnson, who came into the game with 129 already. It's a 2-ball, no strike count to Elster.
So his strikeout to base on ball ratio is much better than it has been in past years. Started last year about the middle of the season, and it's about 3-to-1 strikeouts to base on balls.
Elster lays off, and it's ball 3. 3-0. 7 times this year Johnson has had 10 or more strikeouts. He's on the verge of 10 already tonight as we play in the 4th inning. There's a strike, and it's 3-1. Struck out the side in the second. He had 2 in the first, 2 more in the third, and 2 so far here in the 4th inning.
Even when he throws a 3-0 pitch for the automatic, it's about 90 miles an hour.
Now he goes all the way back to 3-2 on Kevin Elster.
He is an extremely emotional pitcher. We've said that before, but boy, when he struck out Gerald Williams, he just backhand said, get on the bench. He wasn't so big and didn't throw so hard, he might have some trouble.
3-2. He strikes out this side again. Elster out on strikes,
wow.
And that's 10 strikeouts through 4 innings. 1, 2, 3 go the Yankees. We are tied 1-1.
We are headed to the 5th. 1-1 ball game. Jim Abbott and Randy Johnson have combined for 13 strikeouts between them.
How about Randy Johnson? 10 strikeouts through 4.
He struck out the side in the second. Gerald Williams, Silvestri, and Elster. He struck out the side in the 4th. Gerald Williams, Silvestri, and Elster.
And just in case you're wondering, it's a little early, but his personal high is 18 against the Texas Rangers in September of '92.
He has 15 this season in 1 game against Toronto back on the 4th. First pitch gets by Polonia, so Fermin will have at least a double. He's going to try for 3. Here comes the throw, overthrown the cutoff man. He is safe. Bernie Williams backed up Polonia. I don't know if Louis lost that in the lights. It got beneath him as it was sinking. Bernie takes 1 long throw, perhaps 2 shorter throws, Dwayne, and they would have had him, almost had him the way it is.
Bernie had to go over there and get the ball. It was hit so sharply. And you see the ball by Silvestri and all the way to the bag at third, and Velarde's tag came a little late as Felix Fermin arrives safely at third.
It's the first time in this ball game that the Mariners have had the leadoff hitter on against Jim Abbott. And it's Fermin, who's a different hitter this year, who's really may have hurt his back coming in.
The sinking line drive that Polonia charged and then had the ball skip by him is going to be a base hit and an error on Polonia.
Single and a 2-base error. Very close. The infield is in for the Yankees. Halfway on the left side for the 9th place hitter Dan Wilson, who homered with 1 out in the 3rd. It was just the 4th base hit off Jim Abbott in this 1-1 ball game. Shot, but foul. 1 ball, 1 strike to Wilson. Louis Polonia tried to get his body in front of it, at least smother it when he saw he was caught in no man's land, but he didn't get a piece of it. Luckily, Bernie hustled over and prevented inside the park home run. Jim Abbott with nobody out trying to save this run. Base hit up the middle. Mariners take a 2-1 lead. So Fermin's single, the 2-base error. Now Wilson 2 for 2. With the score here, Mariners 2, Yankees 1 as we're in the 5th. Let's go to Sports Desk and Mike Crispino.
Tony at Camden Yards in the 2nd. The Orioles have a 3-2 lead. Joe McGreen delivers. Rafael Palmeiro sits on it and propels it deep to right center. A question at first, but it was a homer. It's now 7-2 in the 3rd.
All right, thanks, Mike. Back here in the Bronx, Dwayne Stats, Tony Kubek, 2-1. Amaral left with the Yankee defense looking for a bunt. And Jim Abbott trying to find something out. Amaral struck out on a curveball in the 1st. He walked in the 3rd. Did he get his bat back in time? The appeal goes down to first base. John Shulak waves the safe sign, a ball and no strikes. The Yankees started off the day 4.5 games ahead of the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles still trying to get something together at home where they're just 19 wins and 19 losses. Yankees with that 5-1 road trip, Dwayne, are really looking impressive on the road. 6 games above 500 on the road. This is too low from Abbott. 2-0.
And they actually finished June on the winning side of the ledger after that 1-8 start. So they had a strong finish to June, went 5-1 on the road trip and pulled off a winning month.
2 balls, no strikes to Rich Amaral with Wilson on first base after his RBI single. Abbott will look at second, but go to Silvestri at first as the sacrifice moves Wilson to second base. Right now, it looked like Abbott was checking with Stanley. Did he have a play at second?
See Jim right here with the catcher headed down to second base. When he looked back there, he might have had a play at second base.
If he comes up throwing instead of looking first, I think he might have gotten Dan Wilson. A catcher, regardless. Wilson on second base, 1 out for Edgar Martinez, who was popped out and hit a hard smash to Stanley, who made a nice play. Nice block. Laritz, 1 ball. They bunch Martinez up the middle of the diamond in the outfield. You can see where Gerald Williams is playing in right field. A lot of room in the right field corner. Abbott and Laritz can't get together. Remember, there's a catcher on second base, so a lot of changing of signs. This misses low. 2-0 again, this time to Edgar Martinez. The most competitive division in baseball happens to be the one that Junior's in. So you look at it and look at the 4 teams. Texas, Seattle, California, Oakland. Oakland just 3.5 games behind, sitting in last, and they are 13 games below 500. 3 balls and no strikes. Yeah, their pitching's getting a lot better now. Yep. I mean, Bobby Witt has been all but awesome. 3-ball, no strike pitch to Edgar Martinez. Ball 4. 2 on, just 1 out with Ken Griffey Jr. coming up. Griffey is singled, and he's also flied to left, and out comes Billy Connors.
Well, a couple base hits here. The sinking line drive to the left off the bat of Felix Fermin that skipped by Luis Polonia for a 2-base error. And then Dan Wilson, who has driven in both runs, single homer run. Moved to second on the sacrifice. Martinez walks on 4 pitches, and now Abbott's down into the middle of the order with Ken Griffey and then Jay Buhner.
And Buck Showalter on the telephone, perhaps to Mike Brown or Glenn Sherlock down in the bullpen.
Center fielder, Ken Griffey.
Ken Griffey Jr., whose father really is still his batting instructor, although senior, is now traveling the minor leagues instructing. Ken Griffey Jr.'s brother is in the Seattle Mariners farm system. First pitch from Abbott, breaking ball way out of the strike zone. He's behind Jr.
And any kind of threat here by the Mariners to add to this 2-1 lead looms very big, because Randy Johnson is Abbott's pitching opponent tonight.
And I'll tell you, if Randy Johnson doesn't finish with a lead for whatever reason, he's a high pitch total pitcher. Bobby Ayala has really been polishing off hitters out of the bullpen with that great forkball. Randy Johnson sitting, enjoying a 2-1 lead with the Mariners threatening again here in the 5th. One ball pitch. 2-0.
Abbott a little disappointed. He was hoping to get the strike zone and get that last call. He thought it might have been in there.
That zone a couple of inches above the belt is just not there as far as a pitcher's concerned. And Junior likes the ball to go down and get the ball. Hit in the right field corner. It will hook. Foul. He didn't hit it well. It was out in front. He hooks it foul. 2 balls, 1 strike now to Junior. You should be in pinstripes. I do not think we will see that day. You know, somebody was saying that if there is a strike, he won't get the record, but he'll lose a bunch of money. And somebody said, no, he won't. With all the endorsements he's got, this is hit high to center field. Bernie Williams trots in several steps. Junior out in front again. The front shoulder pulling off just a little bit. Looked like he was trying to pull the ball and got it off the end. There are 2 outs. You know, if there's a strike, guys like Ken Griffey Jr. and some of the other superstars, they don't lose money because they've got so much money coming in for outside endorsements. I mean, he's got a candy bar after him and shoe contracts and all else. Now it's Jay Buhner with 2 on and 2 outs, who has not been easy on Jim Abbott. Mariners with 1 run home here in the 5th, and Jim Abbott trying to prevent a big inning with the Mariners leading 2-1. This is too low and wide. Jim Abbott and Jim Laird still trying to get a beat on Dan Wilson, the catcher down at second base. Two and nothing. Abbott behind Buhner. One that got away from the Yankees. You just don't know in this game. The Yankees were pretty well stacked in the outfield department. The two guys, as the count goes 3-0 to Buhner, who will have the green light if he wants it. Dan Pasqua, left-handed bat with tremendous power. Buhner. A lot of people said they shouldn't have got rid of Pasqua, and his career has been checkered, to say the least. Not Buhner's. 3-1. Abbott turned it over a little bit on the 3-1 pitch. He doesn't have any easy swings, does he? Elster right there, 6'4". Do you get rid of it or not? Wow. Took about 4 quick strides to his right as it looked like it was going to shoot through when it got by Velarde. Kevin Elster with a fine, fine play. He got a little part of it, and Elster makes it 6-4. 2-1 Mariners.